Andrew McCarthy.
Thank you, Hillary, and thank you, Minister, for being here today for this very important debate. As a young child brought up in County Kildare, there was domestic violence in my own house, and my mother was a wonderful lady, and she certainly was a figurehead for us all to look up to. She had to go through the courts, but there was very little protection at that time. There was no refuge, there was nowhere to go, so we had to go through the court proceedings, the high courts and all that, and it was a very dark time of my life, and no doubt it impacted me to set up the likes of Tiglin, whereby we help women that are marginalised. We've set up different centres, safe places for women. But now that I'm 54 years of age, I think what my Senator colleague Alison has just said, it's 2026 and we're dealing with something that we shouldn't have to deal with today. This should be a done deal. 3 years ago, our nation was shaken to its core by the brutal murder of Aisling Murphy, and that was a young woman. She was in college with my niece and full of promise, a wonderful musician, and she was taken from her community, taken from her family, and her death was a moment that I think it stopped us all in our tracks, and we hope that it would absolutely be a turning point, and I believe that it was at the time, whereby we finally confront male violence and condemn for what it is. But as Women's Aid has recently mentioned, that women in Ireland are no safer today than they were on the day that Aisling died. And so a statement like that really gives me the horrors. And since 1996, 275 women have been violently killed in the Republic. 2/3 of them were killed in their own homes, and more than half were killed by a partner or an ex-partner. So they're not just random numbers, Minister. They're lives, families, and I know my own family could have been a statistic in that regard. And Garda Síochána have published statistics that they have dealt with 65,000 incidents of domestic abuse. That's 1,250 every single week. And that's a huge scale of domestic abuse. And it seems to be that's what we're facing at this moment. And the reason I support this motion is because it recognises that domestic sexual and gender-based violence, it's an absolute scourge in our society, and it's still very prevalent. Even though I witnessed it as a child, and now it's still very prevalent, and that just can't be. It can't be just seen as a men's issue. I think it's a cultural issue. I think it's a political issue, and I think it demands a whole of society response. I welcome the progress made under the zero tolerance strategy. The increased funding, the reforms regarding legislation, and also the expansion of refuge places. But I do feel there's not enough, and we need more places, we need more victim supports. The steps forward, they show progress, but it's just not enough at this stage. And safety is what women and children in this country deserve. We know that at least 280 refuge spaces by the end of this year are promised. So that's what's needed, so I hope they come about. And that in every county in Ireland, we have a refuge that has at least 2 safe homes for women that need access. We need to accelerate the delivery of the 94 safe homes and the 193 refuge units already planned, and the additional 50 units under construction, that they are completed without delay, Minister, because I know such refuge, they're not luxuries, they are absolutely lifelines. We also need to confront the deeply disturbing reality, as my colleague mentioned, about some accommodation providers exploiting vulnerable people through so-called sex for rent arrangements. And such predatory behaviour, it's coercion, it's abuse, and it absolutely has to be criminalised. So I'm totally in agreement there. And I support the swift passage of the Criminal Law and Civil Law Bill 2025 to ensure that it is criminalised with the full force of the law. Another area where reform is urgently needed is the handling of counselling notes in sexual assault trials. And this is a big issue. At present, these notes are routinely disclosed, and that causes traumatisation of the victims, and it sort of discourages a lot of victims from seeking the help that they need, and that's definitely not justice. It's not acceptable, and it's essential that this is dealt with. So I just want to say also about the pornography, about how accessible online, how violent pornography is presenting a distortion to younger people, and that absolutely has to be confronted. And that's why initiatives like It Takes a Village in Greystones, fantastic initiatives, they need to be supported, they need to be funded. So I want to commend my Fianna Fáil colleagues on the motion. I think it's about acknowledging that while progress has been made, Minister, the work is far from finished. I think it's about ensuring that the zero tolerance strategy is fully implemented, fully funded and fully delivered. And it's about ensuring that every woman, every child in this country can live free from fear. And I think, as I started off mentioning Aisling Murphy, I think we owe it to the 275 women, their memories, whose lives were taken since 1996. We owe it to the 32,000 women who contacted Women's Aid last year, and we owe it to every woman and girl that's growing up in Ireland today. So, Minister, I believe that working together we can make the zero tolerance a reality. Thank you, Cahirla. Thank you, Minister.